3C of the Act. B. Issuance of directions under Section 10, subsection 3B of the Act. C. Court proceedings for the recovery of losses suffered by an employee as a result of the contravention in line with Section 10, subsection 4 of the Act. D. Criminal prosecution under Section 10, subsection 7A of the Act, where a person fails to comply with enforcement action under Section 10, subsection 3 of the Act. Upon conviction, an individual is liable to a fine of up to 100 million kwacha and to 10 years imprisonment. E. Physical closure of registered place of business under Section 10, subsection 7B of the Act, where a person fails to comply with an enforcement action made under Section 10, subsection 3 of the Act. Or F. Application to court for the freezing of assets of any person connected with an offense under the Act. For further inquiries, please contact the Director, Pension and Insurance Provision, Reserve Bank of Malawi, Post Office Box 565 Luntha. Email pisu@rbm.mw. Telephone 0111 820 444.
Are you looking for a good venue for your next event? Welcome to Our Lady of Africa Conference Center, nestled alongside our guest house and delectable restaurant located in the capital city, Lilongwe. Whether it's a corporate meeting, a wedding reception, or a family gathering, we have the space and amenities to accommodate your needs. With good accommodation, facilities, and mouth-watering cuisine, your event is sure to be a memorable success. For more information, contact us on 0997 277 720 or on 0997 452 093. Book now and let us help you create unforgettable moments.
Hello and welcome to our today's edition of news, coming to you live from Bishop North Media Center, and with me, Charity Chilanga. First, a look at the top stories. Pope Francis urges humanitarian response to Darien migration tragedy. Elderly ex-miners petition Parliament for overdue payments after 33-year wait. The Reserve Bank of Malawi auction depreciates kwacha. And in international news, Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu halts foreign trips by government officials amid rising cost of living. We have these and many more. Stay tuned. Pope Francis has highlighted the need to develop greater pastoral care and initiatives to assist migrants who travel through the Trachelas-Darien Carbon. In a letter dated March 20, 2024, sent to bishops of Colombia, Panama, and Costa Rica, Pope Francis says every refugee and migrant who lives in his or her homeland challenges every Christian. More details on this Catholic News Agency report are read by Tandiwe Mzomara.
The Pope's message comes as bishops from the episcopal conferences of the three countries conclude a 4-day meeting in Panama titled Easter with Our Migrant Brothers and Sisters, focused on the Catholic Church's pastoral outreach and services amid the ongoing humanitarian crisis in Central America. While acknowledging the extensive network of humanitarian services already provided by the Catholic Church, including shelters, returnee centers, medical care, legal advice, and spiritual support, the Pope stressed that pastors and those in the service of migrants should go beyond the limits of the established. Pope Francis encouraged bishops to confront the myriad challenges presented by the influx of migrants by developing a unified regional approach. The Pope stressed that meeting the immediate needs of migrants does preclude longer-term solutions that would ameliorate the structural issues behind the migration crisis. He concluded by urging the bishops to join forces with all the bodies of the international community so that everyone may have the right to remain in their homeland with a dignified and peaceful life. According to figures released by the Panamanian government, the number of migrants who passed through the Darien Gap reached a record high of 520,000 in 2023, more than double the number who came in 2022.
Elderly former miners from Noah have submitted a plea to the August House urging expedited processing of their payments, a wait of 33 years since their repatriation from South Africa. These individuals toiled in the mines under the Temporary Employment Bureau of Africa TEBA from the 1960s to the 80s. Delivered on Thursday at the legislative headquarters in Lilongwe, the petition implores lawmakers to utilize their authority to expedite the disbursement of their dues. Herbert Karanda was there and he now reports.
In an interview, the group's representative, Happy Sugajazia, said the ex-miners have spent over 33 years since their return from South Africa, but still haven't received their payment. He said it was pathetic to note that government still has not paid them despite the South African government channeling the fund to Malawi's account number 1. Member of Parliament for Zomba, Chisisi Mark Bottoman, who received the petition on behalf of the Central West constituency, in whose area the ex-miners reside in, said he would channel it to the office of Speaker of the House, Gotan Hara. He said the problem dates back in the previous government, who vested less interest in having the fund dispersed.
The ex-miners, they are calling themselves from Nambuma Zone, and this is Doha West, for Honorable, my brother, Dr. Abel Kayembe. So I have received this petition on his behalf because he's tied up doing other businesses to do with Parliament, and therefore I will be able to liaise with him and hand over the petition to him because I believe he will be the one to read it in Parliament. The reason I accepted for me to receive this because I can familiarize myself with the situation that the ex-miners are going through because my father was an ex-miner. Before he died in 2000, he had been pursuing to receive his dues, which he accumulated the years he worked in South Africa, I understand from 1974 to 1989.
Malawi's flocked to apartheid South Africa between the 1960s and 80s in the search of greener pastures and worked in the mines under the Temporary Employment Bureau of Africa. This was done under a bilateral agreement with the South African and Malawian governments. In March 1988, the Malawian government withdrew from TEBA because Malawian citizens were discriminated against South African employers, claimed they were spreading HIV and AIDS in South Africa.
Fales Chisombe reading a report filed by Herbert Katanda. Malawi kwacha has lost its value with 3% against the United States dollar following an auction conducted by the central bank on Monday. According to business and economic journalist Kingsley Kasi, this means inflation may continue rising. This is the first devaluation of the Malawi currency this year. Emmanuel Georgia with the details.
Malawians will continue experiencing high cost of living following a 3% depreciation of the kwacha against the United States dollar. This is according to a business and economic journalist Kingsley Kasi, who was commenting on a recent depreciation following the auctioning conducted by the Reserve Bank of Malawi, which took place on Monday. The depreciation of the currency comes at a time when Malawians are still nursing the wounds of last year's 44% devaluation of the kwacha. However, the 44% devaluation was backed by government, which said will help in the availability of foreign currency. Recently, the European Union has announced the resumption of direct budgetary support to Malawi following the country's qualification of 174 million kwacha of extended credit facility, which came after last year's devaluation. Reserve Bank of Malawi periodically conduct auction of the kwacha against the foreign currency. For Luntha TV, this is Emmanuel Georgia.
Heads are rolling in government on sugar scarcity situation, with the most recent meeting agreeing to introduce legislative regulation on distributors of the commodity. In a statement by the Ministry of Trade, Ilova Sugar and Salima Sugar, two manufacturers, have committed to start manufacturing the commodity from April and May respectively. Salima Sugar Board Chairman Wester Kosamo has since disclosed that the company is in the process of increasing distributors. Robert Edward reports.
Once a readily available commodity, sugar is now a scarce goods on shelves of big supermarkets in Malawi, where in the localities the imported sugar is enjoying the monopolistic dominance of shelves, creating a marketing force that has unfairly increased locally produced sugar prices. There have been interventions from government, including Competitions and Fair Trading Commission, closing down wholesalers who are hiking the price of the commodity, but this is not helping so far. As heads continues to roar, Ministry of Trade has resorted to continue issuing more import licenses and issuing regulations under Business Licenses Act to protect people from unscrupulous traders as a way forward after the recent meeting between the ministry and the manufacturers. The only competitor of Ilova Sugar manufacturing company, Salima Sugar, admits the company has failed Malawians, but says beginning May this year, they will resume sugar crushing.
In a customary practice where majority of our distributors were nature companies, so there was a little production of smaller packets, like 1 kg packets or barrels of sugar. The production wasn't as high as it was supposed to be. This time around, we have allowed many players in the distributorship of our sugar. So there will be a lot of sugar distributors in Malawi across the country. We are awarding contracts to many of them, and that we are sure that come May, when we start crushing sugar again, our product will be available in the market.
Currently, Competitions and Fair Trading Commission has since asked Malawians to use its toll-free lines to report any unfair sugar prices in the localities. For Luntha, this is Robert Edward.
You're still watching news on Luntha Television. We'll be back after this short break.
Welcome to Share World University. Enroll with us. We are accredited by the National Council of Higher Education in Che, and we offer undergraduate and postgraduate programs at an affordable cost. Entry requirements for undergraduate degrees are MSCE or IGSCE with 6 credits including mathematics and English, and for postgraduate, entry requirements include a bachelor's degree in a relevant field of work. We also offer professional diploma courses for ABMA, ABE, and ICAM, including the bridging course for those with 4 to 5 credits. The requirement for diploma courses is an MSCE. For inquiries, please call 0994 530 245 0993 723 578 0999 262 467 and 0881 843 414, or email us at registrar@shareworlduniversity.ac.mw or info@shareworlduniversity.ac.mw. Enroll with us today at Share World University. Sharing with others, culturally correct.
Easter Monday, 1 April 2024, Shefa ICMOK, the return of Sister Miriam Kuseni, the Gospel Music Bash, featuring the award-winning choir. Ndirande Anglican Voices, Kamuzu Barracks Gospel Singers, Shama Fogos, Maki Mangani, King James Peary, Marvelous Deeds, Evans Melika, Violet Tengani, Debbie Diana Mbiri, 1 April 2024, Shefa ICMK, Easter Monday Gospel Music Bash, Ntawi 11 kuloko mawa mpaka 2 kwao, Ntengo Bakomo, 4,000 kwacha basi. Easter ya 2024, yatega.
Welcome back, and if you've just joined us, I know that you're watching news right here on Luntha television. Now a reminder of the top stories.
Pope Francis urges humanitarian response to Darien migration tragedy. Elderly ex-miners petition Parliament for overdue payments after 33-year wait. The Reserve Bank of Malawi auction depreciates kwacha. And in international news, Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu halts foreign trips by government officials amid rising cost of living.
Moving forward, the legislator for Cholo Central, Ben Piri, has heavily questioned the rationale of situating early childhood centers under the Ministry of Gender, Community Development and Social Affairs, instead of laying them down under the Ministry of Education. Piri curiously posed the question towards the minister responsible during a question time in the August House on Thursday. More details on this report followed by Howard Kadanda.
Cholo Central legislator Ben Piri wondered why government thought it is prudent to leave the teaching in those centers in the hands of volunteers.
The very issue that you have touched, and you touch on the nave, because you're talking about if we miss the ECD, the child at the, that level, then let's not expect much as they grow. And I want to bring to your attention whether it's not time yet for us as Parliament and as government to look at where should really the early child development education be. Should it be under Ministry of Gender or Ministry of Education, considering that Ministry of Education is Ministry of Education's sole responsibility is to educate us. Now, if we are leaving it there, and then we are now saying we should look at whether they should be volunteers, do we really expect a volunteer to do a good job on developing this little child? As difficult as that child is, really standard 1 and nursery is not easy at all. Are we sure that we want to leave that in the hands of a volunteer and expect a volunteer to develop our child to be a better speaker like the speaker that...
Minister of Tourism Vera Kantukule, standing in for Minister of Gender, who was not physically available during the sitting, said being a policy issue, the Minister of Gender will have a side in and make necessary recommendations to government in liaison with other ministries.
And I would allow the Ministry of Gender to handle this thing. But in terms of the Cholo Central asked on if we have taken stock of the ECD centers that were constructed by the World Bank. Madam Speaker, it is my understanding that this matter is in court. And we are at the moment, we're not very sure in terms of which ones were particularly affected, but we are aware that some contractors were taken to court. So the World Bank at that moment, their hands were a little bit tied in terms of now continuing with the projects. So until the matter has been resolved in court, probably then the World Bank is going to resume funding of these projects. But I want to believe that the World Bank is a very good friend of Malawi. We should be able to see.
Before Tourism Minister's response, Deputy Minister of Education, Nancy Chaulamdogo, had highlighted that there are still some ECD centers under the ministry, citing some centers in Zomba as an example. During a separate set of questions to the Minister of Homeland Security, Member of Parliament for the Central East, Joshua Malango, asked a supplementary question on what it takes for a police post to be turned into a police station. Malango said his question was robbing for Lintipe police post, which he said saves a lot of people and needed to be upgraded to a police station.
Mind Lintipe police, which is operating to over 60,000 population. It looks for people up to Mayani, Chito, up to Jimbia, but it's still a post, it's not a station office. What does it take for it to be promoted to be a station office on its own? I submit, Your Honor.
But in response, Minister of Local Government Richard Chimwendo Banda, sitting in for the Minister of Homeland Security, said Lintipe is indeed a grown area and Malawi Police Service will be willing to review if it can be turned into a police station. Zomba Chisi had the same question, saying Jali Police Post saves 3 constituencies, including his own constituency, Zomba Mtonya and Zomba Tondwe. Police records traced on Wikipedia indicate that there are a total of 44 police stations, which are headed by officer in charge and deputized by station officers. For Luntha News in Lilongwe, I'm Helbert Katanda.
The International Monetary Fund IMF team is in the country for a governance diagnostic mission, and it plans to meet officials from the central bank, public sector reforms, judiciary, civil society organizations and government to find out how governance issues are faring. The representatives settled in yesterday and are expected to stay in Malawi for a week. Speaking in Lilongwe when he met the representatives on Wednesday, Minister of Finance and Economic Affairs Simplex Chichilapanda underscored the socio-economic impact of good governance as the team's chief Kenji Monyama links their mission to the Extended Credit Facility, ECF. Fales Chizombe with the details.
Minister of Finance Simplex Chichilapanda said governments will provide a conducive environment to ensure IMF governance diagnostic mission is fulfilled without any challenges. He said the economy is recovering, meaning people have a right to participate in economic activities and that the government is respecting people's rights and fundamental freedoms. According to Banda, governance also ensures equality and fairness in the distribution of resources, hence issues to do with corruption, accountability, and transparency, among other things, come into play. Secretary to the Treasury Bechani Cheleni was at the meeting and says government consulted almost every section of the society, including CSOs, chiefs, private sector, and opinion leaders during the pre-budget consultation to entrench the spirit of economic governance in the country. IMF Deputy Division Chief of Physical Operations in the Physical Affairs Department, Kenji Moriyama, indicated that their mission is not directly linked to the extended credit facility of the IMF. However, the visit will form part of the IMF staff-level agreement. Palestine Zombe, Luntha News.
Indian sports, the Malawi netball team, the Queens, of quarter about the neighbor theory when playing Zambia's women on Thursday. The Queens outplayed Zambia's under-21 ladies with 54 baskets to 35 baskets, while electrifying the audience at the 2025 World Youth Championship Africa qualifier in Pretoria, South Africa. Robert Katanal with the details.
The match monitored on SABC television. It was a one-sided affair from the start as the Queens used their height advantage to outclass Zambia. Malawi's girls underlined their intent in the first quarter with a dominant display by winning 14-8 to set the pace for the rest of the game. They never left off the pedal and went on to win 28-16 in the second quarter with some clinical and precise shooting. Things got worse in the third quarter as the Malawian girls extended their lead to 43-23. From the first quarter performance, it was clear that the match was destined to be Malawi's electric win at the tournament. The margin reflected how difficult it was for the Zambian team to break through the Malawi's defense. In an interview after the match, Malawi's assistant coach Cecilia Mtukule Bondwe attributed the win to an uprising performance by the young Queens. The Queens have only lost one game to the host South Africa. In the first game, Malawi comfortably beat Namibia 48-23, then went on to beat Tanzania 64-24 and Kenya 42-38. For Luntha News in Lilongwe, I'm Helbert Katanda.
And in international news, Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu will introduce a 3-month ban on ministers and other government officials from going on publicly funded foreign trips. Tinubu's chief of staff said the move was prompted by the president's concerns about the rising cost of travel expenses by public officials. The ban will take effect on April 1st. We have a BBC report read by Tandiwe Nzora.
President Bola Tinubu and his administration have been criticized by some for their frequent visits abroad. He came under attack, especially on social media, after his government sponsored over 400 people to attend the COP28 climate conference in Dubai last November. Since his inauguration in May 2023, Tinubu has made more than 15 foreign trips. The Nigerian president is said to have spent at least 3.4 billion naira, which is over 4 billion kwacha, on domestic and foreign travel in the first 6 months of his presidency, 36% more than the budgeted amount for 2023, the Nigerian newspaper Punch reported in January, citing Government Spend, a civic take platform that tracks government spending. The West African country is grappling with one of its worst cost of living crises in decades, a situation that has led to widespread hardship and anger. Despite clamping down on travel by government officials, Tinubu has not said whether he will reduce his own trips. The president and his representatives have in the past defended his trips as being vital in addressing the economic problems he is accused of ignoring.
That also brings us to the end of our today's edition of news. But before we go, a recap of the top stories.
Pope Francis urges humanitarian response to Darien migration tragedy. Elderly ex-miners petition Parliament for overdue payments after 33-year wait. The Reserve Bank of Malawi auction depreciates kwacha. And in international news, Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu halts foreign trips by government officials amid rising cost of living.
You've been with me, Charity Jilanka. Thanks for the pleasure of your company. Good night.